Today's unit we'll be covering is Merric. Merric is one of the most unique demotes we have in the game, solely because of his slaying tome. We don't necessarily have a lot of slaying tomes, at least not from the ones you usually see, like Young Merric, Ishtar now, Lysithea. Merric having a slaying tome already puts him above a lot of his competition, thanks to that, because he's able to run a lot of stuff that a lot of other units normally can't. The problem is that he's just generally held back by his stat line. As you can see, starting off with a base attack of 26 is not very good by any means, although he has very decent speed at a base of 32 and a workable defense stat at 28 defense. He's kind of like Bowie in a sense, where he has good speed, good defense, low res, and low attack. But the difference between Bowie and Merric in this case is that one has a slaying tome, which can be used for all sorts of Aether Raids defense shenanigans, and the other one has a free A slot because of the free close foil and his weapon. Which is why in a lot of cases you can end up raising the attack stat of Bowie more thanks to that. However, because Merric does have a slaying tome, he's able to do a lot of other things that units of his kind can't do. And you can still stack his attack through boons and flowers, but that would only end up at a measly 37. That being said, a few skills here and there can easily raise it up with no issue whatsoever. Although he can still struggle to kill if the foe has a good enough res and speed set, as he'll never be one-shot. For the first builds, I would like to cover Aether Raid's defense first, solely because I think that's where his builds are going to see the most usage. For his first build, I have Excalibur with an Attack Refine, Blazing Wind, Life and Death Gaur, Special Spiral, Panic Smoke, and Hardy Bear. It's a general Aether Raid's AoE build with Special Spiral, Life and Death because you want to raise his attack, and that's the reason why we refined Excalibur for attack as well, because you want to work it off visible attack. And even though his Excalibur refine can give upwards of 5 attack and 5 speed, it's during combat, which means it would weaken the potency of Blazing Wind. Moreover, there's no guarantee that he would be able to stay within the range of a staff unit or a magic ally, so your general best bet is to take a stat refine. Blazing Wind generally works really well with Excalibur because of the slaying. Now what's also worth noting is that the slaying is only on the refine, so you can't use it without a refine, which is not necessarily the best, but it works. And the reason we have him on Dark is because he can cover Peony, Air. He can cover a decent amount of the free light mythics that we have thanks to his flying effectiveness in his Excalibur. Reagan, Altina, Plumeria. Naga wouldn't be an issue anyway because she's also flying, and blue, which means Merric can sweep her, but a lot of the time you're going to be facing a lot of red mythics, so your best bet is to run him in dark. Moreover, because generally speaking your best mythics in Dark are Bramimond and Triandra, they can raise 2 of the best stats for Merric, which means he can also run something like Aether Raid's Defense Attack Speed 3 if you want to focus more on his speed, Lull Speed Res 3, Times Pulse, and Swift Sparrow 2 with Moonbow. Because of the slaying in Excalibur, Times Pulse will basically turn his 2 cooldown special into a 0 cooldown special, and it can't be Pulse Smoke by any means because it always resets at 1. Moreover, rather than taking something like Swift Sparrow 3, you can easily take something like Aether Raid's Defense Attack Speed 3 because it grants even more attack and speed. And for a similar reason, I took the Attack Refine because I don't really trust the length of 2 spaces for magic and staff allies, as I think it is very limiting for Merric overall. Something he'll want to watch out for is Tamari Air because of his low res stat, which can make his damage output even worse than it already is. 55 attack with an Excalibur refine isn't necessarily the best either, but when stacked with attack speed, Aether Raid's defense skills, Lull Speed Res, and Swift Sparrow 2, he can easily reach up to 71 attack and 60 speed, which should help double a lot of his foes. And thanks to his high HP stat, there's a good chance that he's not going to get one shot in retaliation. Next we have regular arena builds. I put him in Water Season mostly because of the fact that a good amount of the blues are there. I don't believe his attack power is enough to take on stuff like Edelgards, Roys, especially Lilina. Lilina is out of the question, etc, etc. The only unit that would probably give him trouble is Dimitri because of his built-in damage reduction, but beyond that, he should be able to take on the rest of the water mythics. And for the first build, we'll actually be taking advantage of Dark Excalibur with Special Spiral and a bunch of Death Blows. This is going to be generally used for one-shot builds, as there's a good chance that he may not be able to survive a lot of attacks if having to take a hit, because of all the auto follow-up skills that we now have in the game, speed stacking on foes, the rallies, etc, etc. At least with this, you'll be able to have instant moonbows all the time. Dark Excalibur granting an additional plus 10 true damage because of its Wuda effect also really helps for one-shot potentials. The double death blow also helps really well because of the plus 8 and the plus 6 he gets from his A and seal, which means he can easily end up raising a lot of attack. And then joint drive attack as a C for extra security purposes, so he can one-shot even more. The only thing I would look out for are units that will have some sort of damage reduction, as they will be able to survive Merric no matter what. And then if you want to run him as your arena carry, because he has a preferred weapon and you'll generally be near your allies anyway, you can take the regular Excalibur Refine, which can be really good thanks to Green Dual Infantry 4 giving him extra stats. And because he has a preferred weapon, he doesn't need a 300 SPC passive, but I also think the extra attack that he can get from Joint Drive attack will go a long way as well. Likewise, you could give him Deflect Missile as his seal because of Legendary Leafs and his good defense stat, meaning he can take them on if he needs to. Ruptured Sky is also a really good option for him because of his slaying effect, which means he can always retaliate with Ruptured Sky if you want. You can similarly give him Times Pulse so he can have Ruptured Sky all the time. There are generally a lot of options for him because of his slaying and preferred weapon, so you could easily give him something that either bolsters his attack even more with Joint Drive, or you could give him Times Pulse for Ruptured Sky, or anything of the sort that can help him perform better in battle. And then finally we have his regular PvE builds. The first build that he's going to be running is going to take advantage of Xenoblade to help with his attack set, bonus doubler, chill res, odd and even attack for his scene passive. The reason we are running both odd and even is so he can always have the plus 6 to attack at the start of every turn. Bonus doubler will also help him because he can further increase his attack, and then chill res can also help because he can hit harder with that. It's fairly simple. You won't really run into panic as much in PvE, so you can easily take full advantage of bonus doubler, odd even attack waves. And then if you want, you can run something like Legendary Azura or even anything else that raises his stats even more, because Xenoblade takes advantage of every stat that's visible. And then for his other build, we have Excalibur with the special refine, Moonbow, Close Counter, Low Attack Res, Attack Smoke, and Attack Speed Solo 3. Now, Excalibur with Attack Speed Solo may seem kind of weird to have because you have the 2 space limit with Excalibur, but because it is 2 spaces, you can easily take advantage of the solo effect. Granted, if you are forced to group together in certain maps, you could always replace it with Bond if you're more comfortable with that. Close Counter is there to take advantage of his defense stat. However, if he goes up against dragons, they're going to be targeting his res anyway because it's lower, which can be a problem. Which is why you probably want something like Low Attack Res and Attack Smoke. Attack Smoke will also be really good for targeting foes who have higher attack stats, and Low Attack Res because he can further decrease their attack stat and do more damage in the long term. And with the extra attack and speed that he gets from Excalibur, he should be able to take full advantage of his speed stat, allowing him to do even more damage. And that's pretty much Merric. Overall, I think he does have a lot of potential. I do wish he had a better means of increasing his attack stat, but there are options for that. But overall, he's not a bad unit. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with any of this? Do you disagree? And what kind of builds do you use if you do use Merric? Likewise, if you have any suggestions for the next unit, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Until then, thanks for watching.